Over here, a Neltec DVK. I still use it. I had a second one in this radio, it no longer works. My voice breaks down very, very easily, very quickly, not even in a contest, even talking to you now. So I would have pre-programmed messages, CQs, and that's what I would use on voice. And it enabled me, I think, more than most stations on phone to make the QSO numbers that I've been making. Just another view, and then now we'll get into the present day. Present day KQ2M. Note the DOS computers. There we are. That's an old, I'm not even sure what that is. Probably at least 20 years old. Under the table, this is the pointer. Under the table here, you see an APC, a UPS, uninterruptible power supply. Extremely, extremely important. I'm out in the woods. I have a 550-foot driveway. We constantly get blips in power. People hitting telephone poles, trees, falling on things. We get surges and power spikes all the time. It's taken out a lot of equipment over the years. It's just a fact of life. God forbid it should be windy during a contest. Everything is at risk. So about a year after I moved in, which was 94, so in 95, I bought a whole series of these. All my equipment is plugged into one of these, or two of these, except for the 220 stuff, which they do make up for 220, but it's out of my league cost-wise. Everything goes into here. I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of dollars of equipment I've saved over the years by putting this in line.
It's a power surge?
Yeah, power surges, exactly. Voltage spikes, current spikes, all kinds of oddball things that happen. Or even just when the power company decides that they're changing lines, you know, and for 15 seconds or 15 minutes, it goes off without warning, I can still operate.
Low power, low power.
Low power, exactly. You know, but you can fake it well enough, because if I drop two S units on the other side of the world, they'll think, oh well, you know, it's just QSB. They'll leave me alone. Longer than that, that's a problem. And I do this for all my computers upstairs and everything else. Absolutely essential. Even if you live with well-regulated power, I urge you to spend the money to get this, protect your equipment. So modern day KQ2M, there's the same Titan. Computer monitors are upgraded, but they're really, really, really old.
Is it the CT, the DOS CT, or
Yes.
the Win test?
DOS CT. I do a Win test on a couple of Windows 7s. I haven't gotten to learning it yet. Eventually, though, I'm moving in that direction. Now you see ACOMs. These were all recent additions. They're wonderful. I can't tell you how much more I enjoy contesting now, not having to manually tune each amplifier each time I change bands, in addition to manually adjusting and changing all the antennas, which I still have to do. Eventually this will go away. So I have the ACOMs now, they're wonderful. My AL1500 is right here. You can't see it, I still use it. There are times when the AL1500 actually works better than the ACOMs, as I discovered in contest. So it's still here. The Titan still works. I'm probably going to put it up for sale. It's a fabulous amplifier, and it's had many modifications that make it work even better. I have two other Titans off on the side here, one of which is beyond help. It will be used for parts. Now I have two FT1000 MPs, heavily filtered, all modifications, T-clicks, everything else like that. They're still great radios. Yeah, they're much better radios out there. For the money, no, I really don't think you can do better.
They're the 200-watt jobs?
No,
Or the
no.
fields?
No, they're not the fields. They're the basic FT1000 MPs.
Okay.
And same antenna switches as before, same 6-position switches. Over here, same Comtech 4 squares on 80 and 40. Eventually, hopefully, I'll put one up on 160. Same rotators in service for literally decades. Same Dune-Star filters. Eventually, all this will go away when I automate, which I've been saying for the last 10 years. Unfortunately, very, very severe life-threatening health problems have completely scuttled my plans to upgrade the station at various points in time. I have been reasonably well. I haven't been well for long enough. Eventually, I do hope finally to fulfill my dream of having a fully automated SO2R station. That really will be my dream. Hopefully, I'll attain it. That and the 40-meter beam, which I still don't have. That'll be nirvana for me. Old DOS keyboards, headset, basic, Hale, not BM10, I forget which one it is. I think it's the Pro set with the HC4 mic element. Yeah, it's there. You'll see a close-up of it. Paddles, venture paddles, I love it. I don't need the fancy $200 or $300 Bengalis and other stuff, which are artistic masterpieces. I just go with, what works. And a basic, you can't see it here, but an idiom KC5 keyer. And then this, which there isn't a good close-up of, this, when I came in third at WRTC 1990, the very first WRTC in Seattle, the third place finishers, myself and Jeff Care0Y, we got this wonderful little self-contained paddle, which I'm still using 26 years later. Wonderful. They call this the WRTC edition. It's great. A wonderful little piece of gear. I love it. I still use it. So that's
when you had your console, how deep did you make that workspace so you could fit the radio and then
6
still
feet
have room to write?
It's not deep enough. What I wanted is, instead of the table which I built, which literally weighs a ton, and I built out of heat treated and chemically treated stuff, which wasn't good for me. I wanted something that looked nice, that was modular, and I spent months and months and months looking. I wanted stuff where I could go really deep and still have everything up here, and of course nobody made what I wanted. So the closest thing I could get was some stuff they were selling at Staples, where I put together two entirely different pieces, two entirely different units to achieve something that sort of worked. And then I bought from the third set, I split up, and I found this piece up here, and I pushed that back several feet. So if you see how this is being held up, this is being held up with heat-treated lumber, and it's hanging almost half off the table. And I have all the weight pushed forward so I can get the benefits of having this deep, but not having it fall over. This is not what I want, but it was the closest I could get to it. I'm in the process now of thinking about moving all this over here and orienting it differently. I used to change my operating positions about every year, every 2 years. And the more you operate with something, the more irritated you get with it over time. So this will eventually all change again, but it's a pretty daunting project.
Is that an N square rotated?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I forgot. My 5-element 20 at 130 feet, which is basically a windsock, especially on top of my hill, just used to kill tail twisters, no matter what I did. And I said, I got to find something better. And I found an Orion at a good price, with a control box at a good price, and it's the only thing that really lasts. I get incredible storms with incredibly deadly conditions on top of my hill. It is absolutely one of the worst places on the East Coast. I'm sure of it, except for people on really, really high mountain ridges. And it's just because of the way things funnel along I-84 between two sets of hills, and then they come up 500 feet elevation from the valley and literally explode on my hill. So I've had 2 tornadoes go through there. I had Hurricane Sandy. You'll see some pictures of what happened during Hurricane Sandy. Ferocious, frightful stuff. The Orion stands up, but even with the Orion, it wasn't enough. I had to literally design an extra brace to go between the mast and the antenna, bolting at a separate position on 1/2-inch thick aluminum plate stock, because 1/4-inch used to literally get torn up and broken in pieces. That gives you any idea. That's right. Yes.
What do you do for lightning protection?
We'll get to that. That's a problem.
doesn't get any lighter.
You see an IC781, which I bought used recently. Eventually, I hope to put that on the air. That is a better radio than the FT1000MP, and it was my absolute favorite from when I first used it in Aruba at Papa 40 Victor in 1988. Amazing radio, especially on CW. Eventually, I'll find some time and try it out here. Okay.
Bob?
Yeah.
I know you've got a lot to cover. We've got 20 minutes.
I know.
And literally, we get thrown out of the room.
I know. That's why I'm doing the pictures. After you do the pictures, I can do the contest stuff, not in here.
Yeah,
Right.
we can move to the other room, but we
Yeah.
have to get out of here.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing this now. Okay, close-up shot. You see the L1500, you see the filters, you see all the antenna connections. This is a little nothing just to change the relative audio between the right and the left ear when I'm doing SO2R, single op 2 radio. I get everything closer up. This switches, antennas, and then you see the two screens. Nothing fancy. This is just on the other side. Again, closer up, you see the panels. You see, if you notice how I try to orient things by theme. All the rotators here, all the antenna switching boxes there. I want to be able to use one hand for either, but not both and crossover. I have, the amplifiers are left side for the left radio, right side for the right radio, but the control units are right here so I can see them right in front of me. And that's the idea. You want to make this as friendly as possible. In the middle, these are 4-position phasing combinations for 10, for 15, and 20, where I have all my Aggies. I can switch any combination of antennas. Essential. You never know what you're going to use. I may have 4 stacks on 10 and 15, or 3 stack on 20, and I will tell you that probably only 5% of the time I operate, I'm actually using all the antennas.
Are all of them rotatable or just fixed?
No, it varies. On 15, I have 3 rotatable, on 10, 2 rotatable, on 20, 1 rotatable. And this is also where directional antennas are important too. Again, you can see the radios. On 40 meters, I manually switch 3 antennas. I have my 3-element wire beam, which finally works now because it's actually in a fairly horizontal orientation for the first time in about 6 years. I have a 40-meter 4-square. There it is, wonderful. Nothing like instant directional switching with good front to back and front to side. Great antenna. And then I do have a little 2-element up at 40 at 65 feet fixed southeast. And it works really, really well. That's an ideal height for long haul stuff, skew path and long path on 40. Absolutely sucks to Europe. The wire beam blows it away. Not even worth rotating. I tried that many, many years ago. No, not even worth it. Close up of the 4-square switches, northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. You can switch any direction on both 40 and 80. Wonderful basic antennas, work very nicely. 80, 4-squares are great. 40, a rotatable antenna at 60 or 70 feet, superior to it, except for the really super low angle stuff. Close up, again, the phasing boxes. Close up of the 6-position switch, you can see I have it labeled 10 through 160. Same thing on the other side, just turned upside down. There it is, turned upside down. All right, there we go. 2 microphones, 1 headset.
Oh, it is.
All right, this is from salvage from a Hale BN10 headset from, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I had, when I sent this back and had Bob Hale fix this headset, the Pro Set, I asked him to find a way so that I could marry the audio into this, which...
Is that electrical tape?
Yeah, that's electrical tape. Very low tech station, but it works.
Sure.
So I have it mounted just right. I'm not obscuring the audio. I have 2 foot switches, or rather now I actually have 1 foot switch with 2 pedals. And then depending on which radio I want to transmit on, I got the audio right there. It's set for just the right position, and then I let my feet determine. There it is. So left radio, right radio. Wayne, you probably remember this one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah? This is from K3 Nancy Mike, Joe Grill.
Oh.
And there's the uninterruptible power supply, and there are other power supplies here, and that's a power supply for a Titan. And there it is on the floor. Okay.
So what, do you have a picture from behind the desk?
No. There's no point, believe me. Okay.
It's a 50 feet, that's a 100-foot tower.
I have, that's right. This is a 100-foot tower. The big tower is 130 feet. I am a 2-tower station. No 4 towers, no 10 towers, no. My idea was that I wanted to be like 85th percentile in station, the rest operator. It worked out much better than I ever had a right to expect. But it wasn't by chance. I've operated everywhere you can operate. Overseas, all over the Caribbean, South America, in Europe, and I've operated almost every state in the Northeast in various contests. And one of the things that's good about that is you will get exposed to a lot of antennas, a lot of ways of doing things, a lot of radios, and you learn what works. I can sense on a band when I am loud relative to other stations. I know just by what I'm running or not running or working or struggling to work if I'm loud or not. And you can only get that, that can't be taught. That's only by being on the air and learning it and experiencing it and getting the feel over thousands of hours of operating. And one of the things you learn are the best antennas to use for what it is you're trying to do. And after using all kinds of combinations, one of the things that really changed the path of my station design was operating at this man's station, Wayne Klein, W3 Echo Alpha, back when he was Kilo Yankee 3 Nancy. Wayne had 5-element high gains, 5-element 10, 5-element 15, 5-element 20. I had never used them before. When I was on 10 and 15, I immediately sensed the difference in presence on the band. No mistaking it. I was simply louder, and I heard better. I could just tell. Same thing on 20 meters. Now this is important because 5 elements on a long boom design, or long boom Yagi, I think is ideal. You're just narrow enough that you're focusing your gain right where you want it, but you've got enough of the beam width that you're hitting the areas off to the side 20, 25 degrees. But you're not wasting anything off the side here.
Were you referring to the length of the boom?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
My long boom, yeah. And very narrow patterns off the back, which is good because not only am I not wasting signal there, I'm also not hearing as well there. And people off to the side at like 135 degrees are in the null. And when you're operating, you want all your gain in this direction so you can hear the stations and they can hear you, and you want all the rejection off to the side because you don't want to hear anybody else. 6-element is too narrow. 4-element is good, but it's not narrow enough. But on the other hand, it's great for a spray pattern off the sides. On 20 meters originally, in my first build, I designed 4 elements. I took the stock Cushcraft Yagis and I redesigned them. I changed the spacing, I changed the lengths of the elements, I changed a lot of things to make it based on my design with good antenna software that you can't get anymore. Dean Straw's N6 Bravo Victor software is great. Brian Beasley's K6 Sugar Tango in Italy, superior, in my opinion, as far as modeling antennas and terrain. But you can't get it now. One of the reasons I still have my DOS computers. Well, unfortunately, while the 20-meter antennas worked well, they never gave me the presence. I simply couldn't run like the guys in Eastern Mass. So I realized that was an issue. But on 10 meters, the very first antenna I put up, which was for the, I think the 1999 or the 2000 ARRL 10-meter contest, was this little antenna right here at 23 feet. 23 feet and 10 meters, it's nothing. I put that 5-element up, I got on the band, and all hell broke loose when I called CQ. I couldn't believe it. That's when I knew. It's like, wow. And so I bought more. Almost everything in my station is used. I didn't spend money to buy it new. No need, and frankly, I have more important things to spend money on. So I'm not one of these guys that write checks and buys new equipment. That's okay if you do that, but that's not what you need to do. I accumulated my equipment over 20 years when I was guest operating. A couple of tower sections here, antenna there, and so on, until eventually you get the opportunity to put it up. So going from the top down, you have at the top on a 14-foot mast, the 5-element 15 at 109 feet, 5-element 10 at 110 feet. I'm sorry, at 100 feet, rotatable on the same antenna. At 90 feet, right above the top set of guys, 5-element 15 at 90 feet on a side mount, rotatable. You have a 5-element 10 at 65 feet, fixed. It used to rotate, it's pitiful in every direction except for Europe. One of the oddities of my terrain and wave angles and propagating. 5-element 15 at 60 feet, rotatable on a side mount. 5-element 10 at a side mount at 37 feet, and a 5-element 15 at 30 feet fixed, all fixed are at Europe, and then a 5-element 10 fixed at 23 feet, which is the best antenna pointed northeast to work the West Coast on 10 meters. Something I'll never understand. The West Coast is louder on that antenna pointed northeast and on any other combination of antennas on 10 meters. This is just part of the weird stuff that happened.
What kind of tower?
Road 25.
And did you
I'm
haul,
sorry, road 45.
and did you haul those antennas up the tower, or did you have equipment?
No, well, mostly myself and a lot of other people helping me over years, literally. This is the big tower. Now we have a 5-element high gain 20 at 130 feet, fully rotatable, awesome antenna. We have, it's kind of obscured there. 5-element, oh, thank you, that's great. Okay. 5-element, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, no, no wonder I was confused. Same tower, different vantage point. Same tower looking from north to south. Close-up shot. Now you can see the big tower in the background. Looking up from the ground at 8 5-element antennas. It works just as well as you might hope it would. And that was my idea. I want it to be loud, I want it to have all the right angles, and countless hours spent modeling for every possible combination of heights, directions, everything else. Finally got me that. And if you see the results in contest when I operate, it's worked.
They're all high gain?
All high gain. It didn't get there all initially. I had to make some changes. Again, same thing from a different direction, looking now at the house.
It's like moving cars in the light.
This tower is about 65 feet from the house. Big tower. 5-element, 20 at 130 feet. 5-element, that's fully rotatable. 5-element fixed northeast at 82 feet, works now very nicely, especially faced together. The 2-element 40 fixed southeast, south-southeast at 65 feet, and a 5-element 20 fixed northeast at 54 feet. That's my EA and G antenna. Lower angle, and it's pointed a little towards the